Ross and 50, right? Ross is not, they got a beef because 50 didn't say what up to him. That's just a New York thing.
Right.
At one of the awards. I wasn't there, but that's how it sparred.
Right.
Nigga ain't say what's up to me. Cause down south, y'all have more of a,
hey, how you doing?
nigga
Good day,
bring
sir.
you an
Have a great
apple
day.
pie to your crib. Nigga from New York is looking right straight right.
They absolutely, yeah.
Poison in that shit?
Yeah, they do.
So when you look at the whole Ross situation, right? And I know he probably gonna go in, yo, I'm in my pool.
Yo, listen up. The word on the block is wild. People saying Rick Ross might have tried to take out 50 Cent, but guess what? He made it out alive and came back swinging harder than ever. The streets been buzzing non-stop. Old beef, new flames, and a storm brewing between two of hip-hop's biggest heavyweights. Was this all just a dramatic show, or are we looking at the start of something way darker? Let's dive in. Rick Ross and 50 Cent, a rivalry so explosive it feels straight out of a movie. This is the story of two kings, two hustlers, and one day that almost took out Curtis Jackson himself. When we talk about hip-hop beef, we ain't talking about weak tweets or subliminal disses that fade in a week. Nah, this is real smoke. Two titans going head-to-head for nearly 20 years, and neither's backing down for a second. This is the kind of feud that keeps the internet locked in. Every post, every diss track, every viral jab turning the whole culture upside down. These two been at war with words, lawsuits, threats, and enough pettiness to fill a whole season of drama. You can't scroll without seeing one of them throwing shots or flipping the narrative just to keep their names buzzing. Rick Ross, the self-proclaimed biggest boss, built his Maybach music empire with pure grind and swagger. But even with all that power, he's always had to keep one eye open for 50 Cent's relentless clowning. And 50, man, turned trolling into a career move. He made pettiness profitable, keeping his name echoing through the streets and trending online like it never sleeps. But here's where things hit different. Before 50 became the internet's top troll, before he pulled those wild stunts like buying out rows at Ja Rule's concert just to leave the seats empty, Curtis Jackson was fighting for his life, literally. Long before the fame, before the memes, before the trolling empire, the man was surviving in a world where beef wasn't just talk, it was life or death. When I say battle for survival, I'm not exaggerating. This was straight up life or death. Let's take it back to the night everything changed for 50 Cent. The date was May 24th, 2000, around 7:30 in the evening. 50 was sitting in a parked Jeep right outside his grandmother's house on 134th Avenue near Guy R. Brewer Boulevard in South Jamaica, Queens, just chilling, handling a phone call like any regular night. But that calm didn't last long. Out of nowhere, a gunman crept up with deadly intentions. No warning shots, no bluffing, just pure malice. This wasn't a message, this was a full-blown hit, planned and precise. At point-blank range, the shooter opened fire through the car window, spraying bullets like it was a war zone. When the dust cleared, 50 realized he'd been hit 9 times. 9 bullets tore through his body, both legs shattered in multiple spots, bones breaking on impact. Shots ripped into his hand, his arm, his hip, and even his chest. One bullet skimmed across his face, ripping through his cheek, leaving scars that never faded and temporarily messing with his speech. That moment wasn't just pain, it was survival mode kicking in. Imagine the scene, a man bleeding out in his car, fighting to stay conscious, barely holding on. Yet somehow, through sheer willpower, he got help and made it to Jamaica Hospital Medical Center. When he arrived, doctors had to act fast. His condition was critical and every second counted. Emergency surgery began immediately, medics working against time just to keep him alive. It was chaos, blood, and fear all colliding in one night. But that night would become the defining chapter in 50 Cent's legend. The trauma team went all in, fighting minute by minute to keep 50 alive. They were rushing out bullet fragments, rebuild shattered bones, stop the bleeding, and keep his heart beating when the odds were stacked against him. It was chaos in that emergency room. Every second mattered. Every move could mean life or death. He stayed in the hospital for nearly 2 long, painful weeks, 13 days of non-stop surgeries, stitches, and pain. Doctors worked tirelessly performing multiple operations just to piece his body back together. Orthopedic specialists rebuilt his legs like a puzzle, while trauma surgeons literally saved his life in those crucial early hours after the shooting. But surviving 9 bullets, that was just the first part of the battle. The real fight started after, when he had to learn how to move again, heal again, and face the world as a man who has stared death in the face and lived to tell the story.
Whatever, because I don't care about all that material shit. My higher power's up there. Right? So for me, like, you just mad, you have a beef with a nigga because a nigga didn't say what up, but that's just more of a New York thing.
Right.
Down south, y'all embrace each other more. And I love that too. I love going to Atlanta.
We do.
I love it like that. We love it. You go to the country and people say hi to you. We not used to that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Said, my man Mom's one time we eating. Rest her soul, my man Stripe. We eating. She come to us, yo, if the people next door offer you food, don't eat it.
What came next was pure punishment, a test of pain, patience, and willpower. The road to recovery for 50 Cent wasn't just hard, it was brutal. After taking 9 bullets, he had to relearn how to walk. His legs were so damaged that he started with crutches, moved to a walker, and eventually pushed himself to walk again. But that signature limp stayed with him for years as he rose to fame. The bullet wound in his face even messed with his speech, forcing him to work non-stop just to get his voice right again. Every word he spoke was a reminder of what he survived. Physical therapy became his grind, every day filled with stretching, pain, and determination. He had to rebuild strength from the ground up, fighting through the constant aches of shattered bones and bullet fragments still lodged in his body. It wasn't just a recovery, it was a transformation. Meanwhile, the streets were talking, and investigators started pointing fingers at some serious names. The word was that the hit might have been tied to his long-standing beef with Ja Rule and Murder Inc., and also his controversial mixtape track, Ghetto Quran. That song called out major street figures, dropping names linked to the infamous Supreme Team, and that stirred up major anger. Kenneth Supreme McGriff, the leader of the Supreme Team organization, was later mentioned in federal testimony in 2005 as being connected to the shooting, though nobody ever got convicted for pulling the trigger on 50. But just when you think it couldn't get worse, it did. While 50 Cent was still in the hospital, fresh out of surgery and fighting to heal, Columbia Records hit him with a cold move. They dropped him. They cut all ties, claiming the violence and bad publicity were too risky. His debut album, Power of the Dollar, was supposed to drop that July in 2000, but the label shelved it indefinitely, leaving him hanging with no explanation. The industry suddenly treated him like he was cursed. Nobody wanted to work with him, nobody wanted his name attached to theirs. But 50 wasn't built to quit. Even from his grandmother's house, still healing and limping, he made one thing clear: he wasn't fading to the background. He was coming back stronger, hungrier, and ready to take over the game no matter who doubted him. Once 50 got back on his feet, he hit the studio with pure fire in his veins. He started recording mixtapes non-stop, turning pain into power. His hunger was unmatched. Every track was raw, fearless, and filled with real street energy. That underground grind built momentum fast, spreading through the streets like wildfire until it caught the attention of none other than Marshall Mathers, the one and only Eminem. That moment changed everything. Eminem saw the spark, the drive, and the authenticity, and he knew 50 was the real deal. In 2002, that connection locked in his deal with Shady Aftermath, and the following year, Get Rich or Die Trying dropped like a bomb in hip-hop. The album sold an insane 872,000 copies in its first week, a record-breaking takeover that stamped 50 as a global superstar. But the bullets didn't just leave scars on his skin, they reshaped his entire identity. In his 2025 Fox News interview, 50 talked about how surviving that assassination attempt changed everything inside him. He said it forced him to shift his mindset from a street soldier focused on survival to a visionary running empires. That near-death experience turned him into a strategist, a businessman, and a mogul who refused to ever be powerless again. And he proved it with the Power TV franchise and that legendary vitamin water deal that purportedly earned him over $100 million. His story wasn't just about surviving, it was about reinventing himself from the ground up. So when you see his feud with Rick Ross, it hits different. This ain't just two rappers trading bars online. This is a man who took 9 bullets and still built an empire, facing off against another who built his whole image around being the ultimate boss. And when that viral footage of that tense encounter started flooding social media, the hip-hop world froze once again. Everyone watching, waiting, wondering what would happen next in one of the most intense rivalries the game has ever seen. We're talking about one of the pettiest and most relentless rivalries in hip-hop. Let's rewind to the exact moment this chaos between Rick Ross and 50 Cent first erupted, because to really understand how deep this feud runs, you gotta know where it all began. It all kicked off at the BET Hip Hop Awards. Yeah, that's where the first shot was fired, metaphorically speaking. During the event, 50 claimed that Rick Ross gave him what he called an inappropriate stare. Sounds small, right? But for two men with giant egos and reputations built on dominance, that single look was like striking a match near gasoline. Yep, you heard that right. The entire war started over a look. One quick glare, one moment of silent tension, and boom, egos clashed and the spark caught fire. That tiny face-off set off a chain reaction that had been building pressure for years, waiting for just one spark to blow everything wide open.
2 minutes later, a guy came and tried to bring us a plate. We like, no, we good. I don't know till this day why she said that, but I listened to her.
Right.
New York, we just different. So New York, we just naturally mind our business and keep it moving.
Right. Well, I remember when I moved to Atlanta, the white guy across the street, he brought me a cake.
New York City, when's the last time you seen that?
he brought me a cake. Yeah, he says, he's like, if you ever go out of town, you need me to watch your house, I'll watch the house. I ended up giving the man a key to the house.
Now here's where things got real. 50 Cent did what he does best, digging deep and hitting where it hurts. Once that tension popped off, 50 went full detective mode, pulling up dirt from Rick Ross's past. And what he found, it flipped the whole hip-hop world upside down. 50 exposed that Rick Ross had once worked as a correctional officer, and that single fact became the foundation of one of the most brutal smear campaigns the culture had ever seen. In street terms, that meant one thing: people started calling Ross a fraud. Even worse, whispers started flying that he might have been working with the law instead of against it, a major blow in a world where street credibility can make or break your entire career. This was huge because Ross had built his whole image around being the ultimate boss, the top dog, the kingpin, the man moving major weight and living that high-level street life. His whole persona screamed power and authenticity. Then 50 comes in with receipts, actual documents showing Ross wasn't the one running the streets, he was the one locking people in them. That's when the chaos really exploded. From that discovery came 50's infamous Officer Ricky campaign, and it was ruthless. 50 didn't just drop the info and move on, he turned it into a full-blown movement. He created skits, videos, memes, and non-stop jokes clowning Ross's past. Everywhere you looked, the internet was flooded with 50's mockery, keeping Ross's name attached to that image day after day. By late 2008, it wasn't just a diss, it was psychological warfare. 50 made sure the entire industry couldn't look at Rick Ross without thinking Officer Ricky. He played it like chess, methodical, cold, and relentless. By early 2009, 50 Cent was running one of his wildest and most controversial plays ever. The man basically turned beef into performance art, and this next stunt showed just how far he was willing to go. Reports claim that 50 allegedly hired or coordinated a lookalike of Rick Ross's then-girlfriend to pull off a public setup at what multiple sources say was a Miami radio event of public appearance. The scene got chaotic fast. The footage shows Rick Ross reacting aggressively, shoving the impersonator and appearing ready to throw hands before security jumped in to break it up. That clip went viral again and again over the years, often captioned with wild claims like Ross trying to take out 50 Cent, when in reality, it was just another one of 50's calculated trolling moves, a setup meant to make Ross look unhinged in front of the world. But that was just one chapter in 50's non-stop campaign, and he wasn't even close to done. In March 2009, 50 dropped something way more personal: private footage involving Ross's former girlfriend, LaStonia Leviston, with his own commentary layered on top for mockery. That move crossed serious lines and came back to bite him hard. Leviston sued him in court and won between $5 and $7 million in damages, a case that 50 later had to settle. That moment proved just how far he was willing to go in his war against enemies, even if it meant facing heavy legal and financial fallout. And just before that drama, in February 2009, 50 released a dark, cinematic-style video that gave everyone chills. In it, he drove past DJ Khaled's mother's home and workplace while spitting threatening bars, a move that shocked fans and critics alike. That clip showed how personal 50's attacks could get. No hesitation, no remorse, and no line he wasn't willing to cross when he felt disrespected. By that point, it was clear. 50 wasn't just trolling for clout, he was waging psychological warfare. Every stunt, every post, every video was a calculated strike meant to dominate headlines and break down anyone who dared to stand against him. Rick Ross wasn't standing there taking hits, not at all. He came swinging right back. Ross fired off his own counterattacks, dropping tracks like Mafia Music in 2009, where he went straight for 50's neck. He took shots at 50's business empire, his so-called street rep, and even threw shade at his personal life, especially his relationship with the mother of his child. Ross didn't hold back, questioning everything from 50's authenticity to his fallen album numbers, hitting where it hurt most. Their back and forth sparked one of the most unforgettable beefs in hip-hop history. Each diss track, each interview, each jab built new chapters in a saga that fans still talk about today. From the 2000s through the 2010s, this feud would go from low-key tension to full-blown explosions over and over again, like a volcano that never truly cooled off. Then came 2018, when things got dark again. Rick Ross was rushed to the hospital after being found unresponsive at his home. Fans were worried, headlines were everywhere, and the whole music world held its breath. But 50, instead of showing concern, he jumped straight onto Instagram, posting memes and jokes about his condition. He hinted that it might have been drug-related or even exaggerated for attention, cold moves that left everyone stunned. That reaction showed just how deep the animosity ran. This wasn't normal rap competition anymore. When your rival's fighting for his life and you're cracking jokes online for clout, it's clear the line between beef and cruelty got completely blurred. This feud had turned into something way more personal, a grudge that refused to die. That right there is a whole different level of hate, not just rivalry, but real animosity. And the trolling didn't fade with time. It only got louder as the years rolled into the 2020s. 50 kept the pressure on, clowning Rick Ross for his weight loss journey in 2022 and turning every post into another round of shade. He didn't stop there. 50 made sure to remind everyone about his own wins, flexing his massive TV empire and that iconic vitamin water deal worth millions. He kept stacking accomplishments while throwing jabs, using success itself as another weapon in the feud. Even decades later, the fire between these two still burned, loud, petty, and impossible to ignore.
That's crazy. I'm gonna tell you why. When we overseas, me and my man Uncle Murder, we do odds and evens to see if certain white people gonna get in the elevator with us. Because we black niggas in a 5-star hotel.
Right.
But we not supposed to be, we the only niggas in the hotel.
Yeah.
We here because, on a behalf of 50 Cent, we do odds and evens. Yo, is this nigga gonna get in the elevator with us?
Right.
Damn sure, spin around. I seen a little kid run in the elevator. Mom's go, what are you doing?
Right. Snatch him up out of there.
Yeah, we in a Monty hotel. We in the best hotels in the world. They ain't never seen a in there.
Right.
They like, man, nigga, what?
Rick Ross wasn't backing down either. He fired back with his own power moves. He flexed his Maybach music group lineup, showing off his squad of successful artists, and proudly highlighted his growing empire of Wingstop franchises, proving that his hustle extended far beyond rap. Even in August 2025, Ross was still throwing verbal shots, going for the jugular with personal insults and sharp jabs at 50's business past. He teamed up with Benzino for a round of fiery comments, calling out 50's early record deals as terrible and dragging his name into family-related drama. Ross even went as far as claiming that 50 had gone quiet after Drake's rumored loss to Kendrick Lamar in their 2024 lyrical clash, saying 50 had lost his competitive edge when it came to picking sides in hip-hop's biggest wars. Those comments hit hard, questioning not just his legacy, but his fire. 50, never one to let anything slide, hit back with a power move of his own. He threatened to buy Ross's master recordings. That's not just a diss, that's domination in its purest form. Owning someone's masters means owning their entire catalog, their creative legacy, every song, every album, everything they've built in their career. That kind of threat cuts deeper than pride. It's about total control over another artist's legacy. And just when the internet thought things couldn't get crazier, that old 2009 footage resurfaced again. The same viral clip showing Ross in a heated moment during what many sources say was a Miami radio appearance. In the grainy video, Ross can be seen storming toward what looked like a 50 Cent impersonator, grabbing the person, shoving them against the wall, and looking like he was ready to throw hands before security rushed in to pull him apart. That clip went wild online back then, racking up millions of views on World Star Hip Hop and YouTube. And every few years it pops back up, reigniting the feud all over again.
We got pulled over on our way here yesterday. My man want to argue with police. I'm like, why you argue? You know what we got pulled over for. Shut the up.
Yeah.
You know what we got. Yeah, what I got pulled over for? Nigga, you know what we got. What the fuck you mean?
Cause.
Yeah.
You fit the description.
Sometimes I ain't gonna front, I hate when people argue with police. What I got pulled for? You know what you got pulled over for.
Even more than a decade later, this rivalry still refuses to die. It's part of hip-hop history now, feud about pride, legacy, and two egos too big to ever back down. That old footage just wouldn't die. It popped back up in 2014 when the feud reignited, and then blew up all over again in 2023 thanks to TikTok's remix culture. Users started reposting the clip with dramatic background music and wild captions like Ross snaps on 50's clone, giving an old moment brand new life. Once the memes hit and the algorithms kicked in, the video spread like wildfire across every major platform, racking up millions of fresh views. See, that's the power of the internet. Mix old beef with new tech, and suddenly the past becomes the present again. The edit culture, the dramatic labels, and the appetite for controversy made that clip perfect fuel for virality. One look, one push, and boom, it's trending again like it just happened yesterday. But to really understand why this rivalry refuses to die, we gotta zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because both 50 Cent and Rick Ross are built for conflict. Their beef isn't just personal, it's part of who they are as artists. These two have built reputations as some of the most battle-hardened figures in hip-hop, each with a long list of feuds stretching across their careers. So now let's look at the bigger war records, 50 Cent versus the entire industry, and Rick Ross versus anybody who's ever crossed him. Their history with Confrontation explains why this particular rivalry burns so hot and lasts so long. For 50, beef isn't just business, it is the business. He's made a whole career out of it, going to war with anyone who so much as gave him a side eye. And out of all his legendary clashes, none shaped his legacy more than his war with Ja Rule and Murder Inc. That feud started way back around 1999, 2000. And it's not just a story of words or music, it connects directly to the moment that nearly ended his life. That's the crazy part. Every fight, every diss, every headline, all tie back to the same origin story. A man who got shot 9 times, lived through it, and decided he'd never back down from anyone ever again. The story gets even wilder when you bring Ja Rule back into the mix, one of 50's most infamous rivalries ever. It started with street tension and rumors of jewelry theft, then spiraled into full-on war after 50 survived those 9 bullets. Once 50 gained enough power in the industry, he flipped the script, launching one of the most ruthless blackballing campaigns hip-hop had ever seen. He came for Ja Rule with a whole wave of hard-hitting diss tracks like Wankster, Back Down, and Realist Killers, the last one even featuring posthumous vocals from Tupac. Ja tried firing back with his own songs like Loose Change and The Rap, but the damage had already been done. 50 basically crushed his momentum. Between the superior music, the strategic industry pressure, and his unmatched trolling, 50 dismantled Ja's commercial run completely. And the trolling? Oh, it never stopped. 50 pulled savage moves, like buying up entire rows of Ja Rule's concert tickets just to leave the seats empty, making it look like no one showed up. He clowned him publicly, over and over, until Ja's name became a punchline. Even as recently as 2025, 50 was still dropping posts online mocking things connected to Irv Gotti's passing, proving that this feud might never truly die out. Then you got 50's other massive fallout, the Game situation. Back in 2005, 2006, Game got kicked out of G-Unit for loyalty issues and his rising solo career. What followed was chaos, both of them dropping brutal diss tracks, with Game's 300 bars and running becoming a legendary 15-minute takedown aimed straight at 50. This wasn't just music beef either, it turned violent. During that period, a shooting broke out outside Hot 97's radio station, and one of 50's security guards was hit. It showed just how real the tension had gotten. Over time, things cooled down between their camps, but not completely. The occasional shade and slick comments still pop up, keeping that old tension alive just beneath the surface.
50 wasn't stopping with just one or two enemies. He had smoke for everybody. He even went after Jadakiss, D-Block, and the Lox, turning the tension between G-Unit and Rough Riders/D-Block into one of the wildest multi-crew rivalries of the 2000s. In 2005, 50 dropped his infamous track, Piggy Bank, where he came from multiple rappers at once, throwing shots at Jadakiss, Fat Joe, and Nas all in a single song. That track was pure chaos. One record, 3 major targets, and 50 right in the middle, laughing about it. Fat Joe wasn't about to stay quiet though. He fired back with Ma Fofo, calling 50 out directly. But that war eventually cooled down, and time did its thing. Years later, Fat Joe even showed up on some of 50's TV projects, and the two actually showed each other mutual respect. Proof that not every beef in hip-hop has to end with permanent hate. Then there was the Cameron and Dipset saga, another long-running clash. It stretched from 2007 to 2017, with random revivals popping up. Even in 2021, sparks flew again. And as recently as January 2026, 50 couldn't resist jumping into the mix, stirring things up by posting online, encouraging Cameron and Jim Jones to get the heat back on. It showed he still loves watching a little chaos unfold in hip-hop, like he's both a player and a commentator in the same game. But one of the most emotional fallouts came from inside his own circle, Young Buck. That beef cut deep. It was all about money, contracts, and loyalty inside G-Unit. After things went south, Buck released diss tracks of his own, airing out their issues in public. While there's been a bit of peace between them since, fans know a full reunion will probably never happen. Too much history, too many wounds. Even Nas got caught in 50's crossfire back in 2005. Thankfully, that tension never blew up into a full-scale war, but it showed once again 50's radar never missed a target when it came to competition in hip-hop. Nas and 50's tension was more lyrical than personal, a real clash of giants. Nas dropped a few slick jabs on Too Hot and threw indirect shots on Hip Hop Is Dead, calling out the state of the game and the kind of artists he felt were ruining it. 50 fired right back with Piggy Bank, never one to let anything slide. But over time, both men seemed to recognize each other's greatness. Legends respecting legends. The drama faded and they moved on without any lasting beef lingering between them. Fast forward to today, and 50's latest target has been Diddy, and he's been relentless. Between 2024 and 2026, 50's been trolling him non-stop online, posting memes, dropping jokes, and even teasing documentaries about the mogul's legal troubles. Every new headline involving Diddy seemed to get a 50 Cent remix online, keeping his name buzzing in every hip-hop conversation. He's turned trolling into both an art form and a PR strategy that keeps him constantly trending. Now, let's switch sides and talk about Rick Ross's long list of conflicts beyond his never-ending war with 50. Back in the early 2010s, Ross had serious tension with Jeezy, all over street credibility and who really ran Atlanta rap. The feud heated up fast, but surprisingly, it didn't end in flames. Thanks to DJ Khaled's behind-the-scenes peace talks, the two actually squashed their beef and even linked up for the massive track War Ready. It was proof that sometimes respect can outlast the drama in hip-hop. But Ross's more recent beef with Drake brought the fireworks back in full force. The two once had a solid bond. Classic collaborations like Aston Martin Music and Diced Pineapples proved their chemistry was elite. But things changed when Ross sided with Meek Mill during Drake's 2015 feud, and over the years, tension quietly built up behind the scenes. Then, in April 2024, Ross dropped Champagne Moment, and it sent shockwaves through the culture. In that track, he accused Drake of getting cosmetic work done on his nose, copying Lil Wayne's vocal style, and even sending cease and desist letters to French Montana. The internet went wild, spawning the viral BBL Drizzy memes that took over TikTok, X, and Instagram. Drake fired back on songs like Push-Ups, keeping the back and forth alive. By May 2025, Ross hinted that he was open to ending the feud, but the subliminals and slick comments never really stopped. The shade still flies both ways, showing that even when the smoke clears, the tension between heavyweights like these never truly disappears. The drama between Rick Ross and Drake didn't just stay between them, it dragged others into the crossfire too. French Montana ended up catching stray shots as collateral damage when Ross claimed that Drake had sent legal threats his way. The tension got so uncomfortable that during a 2025 interview, when reporters tried to ask French about the situation, he straight up walked out of the studio, telling them never to bring up that beef again, ever. That moment alone showed just how toxic the whole situation had become. But that wasn't the only fire Ross was dealing with. His long-running feud with the real freeway Rick Ross, the actual drug kingpin whose name William Roberts borrowed for his rap persona, flared back up again in 2025. The two traded nasty jabs online, throwing around insults about snitching and body weight, reigniting a battle that had been simmering for years. And if that wasn't enough, in July 2024, Ross turned up the heat even more during a live performance in Vancouver when he performed Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, the ultimate anti-Drake anthem. That move didn't sit well with Drake's supporters in the crowd, and it quickly escalated. Reports say things got physical, with Ross's team and fans clashing in the chaos. The feud had officially jumped from lyrics to real-life confrontation. That wild Vancouver moment made one thing crystal clear. Rick Ross had officially chosen Team Kendrick during that legendary rap war, and he didn't care who had a problem with it. He made his loyalty loud and public, fully aware that there'd be consequences, and he still stood on it. That move showed just how fearless Ross is when it comes to staking his position in hip-hop's biggest battles. When you really look at the pattern between these two men, it's obvious. They're built different. 50 Cent has turned conflict into a full-blown business strategy. He doesn't just beef, he monetizes it, turns it into headlines, and keeps his name dominating every platform out there. For him, drama equals engagement, and engagement equals power. Every post, every meme, every slick comment adds another layer to his legacy as hip-hop's ultimate troll king. Meanwhile, Rick Ross plays the opposite role. The calm, collected boss who wins by staying successful and stacking more wins in business and music. Even when he throws a jab or two online, his main message stays the same. He's too rich, too focused, and too confident to be bothered. It's that I'm above it all energy, and people love it. What makes their rivalry so iconic is that neither one has ever really won. 50's trolling didn't kill Ross's career the way it crushed Ja Rule's, and Ross's boss moves haven't made 50 back off either. They're two unstoppable forces locked in a feud that's lasted almost 20 years, perfectly matched and too proud to ever let it die out. And honestly, that's exactly why fans can't stop watching. This war isn't ending anytime soon. If anything, it's only evolving with every new post, every diss, and every viral moment. If you're loving this deep dive into hip-hop's wildest rivalries, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You don't want to miss what's coming next. The drama's only getting bigger.